1, 2, 3. Well, welcome once again to another take of Security Guy Radio at Black Hat 2016. What's your name, sir?
I'm Grayson Milbourne.
And what's your role at your company?
I'm the Security Intelligence Director at Webroot.
Now, it just so happens, Webroot, I've been a customer for years.
Awesome.
I love it. Here's why. It's the only program I use that doesn't slow my computer down.
I'm glad to hear that, and we take a lot of care and effort to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't believe it at first when I started using it. I go, oh, it's not going to affect things. Like, yeah, baloney, because semantic, all those things, it just slows down to a crawl. How do you guys achieve that?
Well, it's a combination of a couple of different things. The first thing is that we ensure that our application is programmed to be as lightweight and efficient as possible.
It is.
And you might notice that the installer is under a megabyte, and that is compressed, but doesn't download anything else. There's no definition updates. It's just very intelligently coded. But beyond that, it also has to do with how our intelligence and our threat intelligence discovery works. And you might not know this, but...
I probably don't, by the way.
Well, I'm going to tell you. So, not for long.
Everyone here at Black Hat.
But right, so one of the things that makes Webroot unique as a security product is that we've created what we call a collective intelligence model. And basically what that means is that every endpoint, yours included, contributes information about the files that you encounter and the websites that you visit.
Oh, that's why it asked me if I want to contribute. Okay.
Right. So
and your program is very big into that. In other words, it's very at the forefront of the loading. And I didn't want to understand the reason, but I'm helping you write your code.
Well, you're contributing encounter data, which is really important, because one of the biggest challenges in discovering threats is being at the point of where that threat's going to target someone. And that's normally the consumers using the internet, being normal computer users. Yeah. And so ultimately what we have is a big collective intelligence network of contribution from people like yourself. And when I talk about files, I'm not talking about your documents or anything else. This is just your application.
No, I don't want you looking at my porn.
We're not.
Don't do that.
We don't want to look at that.
All right, good.
But the benefit of that is that we have the understanding of popularity. So like legitimate applications, they're seen by millions of people. And so we know that these are trusted applications, and so we don't have to monitor or observe those during execution to look for anything that might be malicious. But when you encounter something malicious, the odds are it's going to be unique to you. And so that allows us to really rapidly identify emerging threats as they're encountered by our customers. And in most cases, we're able to make a real-time on-the-fly determination of that threat.
Would you say that's the value add of Webroot, the correlation analytics behind one user's insight to threats and then sharing that with the community?
Yes, absolutely. And that's exactly what we do.
It seems different than the other competitors. Am I wrong?
It is different.
Okay.
I mean, we were really an innovator in this space, and you hear a lot about next-gen products today, but Webroot released Secure Anywhere back in 2011. So, here the big news is always next-gen vendors offering endpoint security that offers a lot more functionality, but we've been producing that functionality for quite some time. and one of the big benefits of our product is that we have a technology called journaling and rollback. So if you get infected with something like ransomware, for example, and we didn't block it up front, there's a very good chance that we'll be able to remediate that encryption because the endpoint actually monitors what goes on an untrusted file basis.
That's fascinating. I knew there was something different about it.
So because ransomware is very popular right now. I mean, you can't go without hearing the news about some big corporation, whether it's the health industry, the financial industry. Now it's at the home level, and your novice user just is freaking out. So how do you guys help combat that?
So one of the things that's also nice about our program is that it has automatic remediation. There's no need to scan. And scanning in AV is something that people typically are like, oh yeah, that's what it does, and it slows down my computer for half an hour.
That's what it does, yeah.
Right? So for us, it doesn't quite work that way. We do support scanning because people expect there to be scanning, but in actuality, we're in what I would call a persistent state of connection with our cloud. So as you encounter something, we ask about it, and if we don't know what it is, we then record what it does on the system. We prevent it from accessing any sort of sensitive information, so it prevents keystroke logging and screen scraping and about 24 other techniques. But if a later time we discover that thing that we were watching happens to be malicious, say like a new piece of ransomware, the agent next time it checks in says, oh hey, that thing that I asked about, I now know what it is, so I'm going to act and I'm going to remediate. And this is all done in the concept of closing that window of time to an exposure to an attack. So the faster that you get to remediation, the better off you are, and it shouldn't be dependent on you having to kick off a manual scan.
So it's constantly monitoring my internet stuff, but I never notice it. I never notice a glitch.
Again, we do things very, very efficiently.
Yeah.
And so
let's talk about that. How is when you're, if we're sharing information into the cloud, how is that data being transported? Is it encrypted?
Oh, absolutely. So of course, data privacy is extremely important to us. We're a security company. So we do a lot to abstract user sensitive or user identifiable information.
Yep.
So, one of the things we've done is we do a lot of normalization, right? So every Windows user has their own account, and that account name then shows up within the path directories. And so where something is found on your system, that's important metadata to us, but we don't really care what your username is.
Right.
So we normalize normalize things from like the specific username, and we just put users instead of the actual username.
Oh, good.
And the other concept here is that we wanted to sort of create a master Windows file system in our cloud that supports Windows XP all the way up to Windows 10 server versions 3264-bit. And Windows changed this directory structure with Windows Vista. And there's other complexities, like multiple browsers have different cache locations. There's different temp directories throughout the Windows system. We normalize that all together so that something that comes in through your browser, whether it's Internet Explorer, Chrome, or whatever, that shows up in a cache directory. And so, this has helped us really organize a tremendous amount of data. We have about 10 million users contributing on a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
They generate over 1 million unique applications on a daily basis.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, it's really impressive, actually.
Who's your competition, or do you have any? Because you just seem so unique.
Well, we are sort of unique compared to our competition. I would certainly say that a lot of the next-gen vendors look at us as competition for them. But we have a very big play in the consumer market, and we've been growing rapidly in the SMB market, where we have over 5,000 MSP resellers of our business product, and continuing growing the consumer space, even though it's a declining consumer market. So our product really works.
Now, how does it differ in the business market? What is it more robust?
It's actually the same code, the same installer. It's all key code functionality driven, but we have a cloud-based console, so you can manage your endpoints simply through any browser login. Distribution of the endpoints is as easy as having them execute the installer, and they'll automatically check in, and it kind of creates that single pane of glass for remote management. But we also integrate with Kaseya, LabTech, ConnectWise, and a number of other RMMs.
So we talk about the consumer market kind of dwindling down, but what is your thoughts around securing the Internet of Things? That's a hot topic here at Black Hat this year. So how does Webroot play in that space?
Sure. So we look at that as definitely an area that we want to participate in. Internet of Things devices are not going to be heavy computational power. So we already look at our technology as extremely lightweight and really well fitting for that. So it's something that we don't have a current IoT product, but we are certainly very active in that space and are looking to...
I think that's going to be a space that, researchers are looking to innovate and figure out how to close that security gap on all these devices that are turning up, especially, your connected refrigerator, your thermostat, why couldn't we install
or
Webroot
home
on that?
security devices.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is really where I get concerned about IoT is if somebody can remotely unlock my doors or I have a camera system, that's
the self-driving
really
car I'm worried about, right? They hacked one once.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see that because it's really important for security to be at the forefront of innovation in IoT, whereas so often we see security as an afterthought and then it's so much more expensive to fix issues in that
Now, why
situation.
is the consumer market going down?
Well, I'm just saying that consumer PC sales are going down. So,
they are? Because why?
Well, people I think are more into tablets. Computers last longer.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely.
So it's been
other smart devices that you can do additional computation on.
So to survive, you got to shift to a mobile market, maybe, or you got to keep up with the hardware.
Yeah,
interesting.
Absolutely. So some of the other.
I guess I picked the wrong time to buy an $8,000 HP computer. I just bought one last week.
Wow, that's an impressive system then.
Oh, it's got like 64 gigs and 18 gigabyte graphic card, and,
awesome.
And the first thing going on next week is
Webroot Secure Anywhere.
It's Webroot Secure.
Awesome.
That's right.
So one of the other things I did want to bring up briefly was that because we have this collective intelligence environment, we have great telemetry into the actual threat landscape as it's encountered by our customers. And this allows us to look at some interesting data points, such as encounter trends with threats, and the prevalency and turnover rate for variants of specific threats. And so this is something that we've been reporting on for a few years now. And what we've looked at so far in 2016 is actually somewhat of a decline in the encounter rate with new threats.
Oh.
And part of this is actually driven by the arrest of the Angler exploit kit cyber gang in Russia, where
That's interesting.
18 plus people were arrested, over 50 were detained. Yeah, this happened actually in early June.
Yeah.
And we saw like a very notable
direct correlation
to that going offline, because as an exploit kit, Angler had actually done a very good job of eating up market share and becoming the primary delivery mechanism for a lot of threats, especially ransomware. CryptXXX primarily delivered through Angler. But what we've seen since the early June takedown is a number of competing exploit kits really vying for that new top spot. And so we've already seen the nuclear exploit kit shoot up in market share, but there's about 10 other competing vendors out there who make their money by creating a platform for other cyber criminals to deliver their threats.
So let's talk about the threat intelligence aspect of Webroot. How are you delivering that integrated threat intelligence that you just mentioned into the products, into the users?
Yeah, absolutely. So our product, collects a lot of the threat intelligence. Our 10 million plus users are a great fishing net for what threats are encountered by real world users, right? They're just being people using the internet, and they become infected occasionally. So that is one of the big sources of our threat intelligence. But we also have more traditional methods that we used before we sort of went to this cloud methodology of sample sharing and file feeds. And we also have a global sensor network that identifies malicious IP attacks. And then our threat intelligence is also integrated into a number of next-gen firewalls. And so whenever that next-gen firewall queries against us, that's another source of intelligence. And if we don't know about something that's being asked about, it jumps to the top of our crawling queue as we discover new websites as they're published. So
now, you're not in the threat analysis business per se, but you just so happen the way you're configuring your system to collect the data.
Oh, yeah.
Do you resell that data to threat analysis companies that want to look at and crunch the numbers and say, you know what, I see, like you just said, hey, Russia gets arrested, boom, threats go down.
So one of the tools that we released at RSA earlier this year is called the Threat Investigator. And it's basically that. So one of the big benefits, again, of all this data coming into our cloud from different sources is that we can then do what we call the contextual analysis phase. And this is where we look at file data, we look at web data, we look at mobile application data, and we are able to draw the lines and show the interconnectivity of, for example, where did that file come from on the internet?
Right.
What URL was hosting that file?
And you know because it's been in your system for 3 years and you can trace it.
Or it just showed up yesterday.
Right, interesting. All right.
So yeah, we have an entire threat intelligence business that we brand under Bright Cloud Threat Intelligence.
What's it called now?
Bright Cloud.
Okay, what's the website?
Brightcloud.com.
And it's okay, good. BRIGHT?
Yep, BRIGHT, cloud.com. Right. And so we sell basically access to our intelligence that can be used in a lot of different creative ways. But
that's great.
We have over 40 OEM partners. Many of them are here at the Expo Hall. But you'll find Webroot intelligence all over the place. It's embedded in a lot of places.
Now, is that unique to your market? In other words, do the other competitors do that sort of thing? I don't.
There is some competition there, but we certainly have, I think, the most seasoned offering and
it's because the way you collect the data, the way you do it, it's just different.
Yeah. Exactly. I know a lot of our competition, or none of them that I'm aware of, has that popularity component, and it's so powerful when so much of threats today really focus on evasion and being unique and we really look at that as that's a dead giveaway. Why do you, out of 10 million people, have a unique application that's running from your temp directory and has made a startup modification to your registry? It's, to us, those are the really dead giveaways. And
now, I was speaking to a couple vendors who do business overseas, Germany in particular. You can't save anything.
No.
It's all private, secret, serial stuff. So if you're getting information from Milbourne and putting it in your system and knowing what's going on, and you're not supposed to save it more than 30 days, what do you do in Germany?
So European data privacy laws are somewhat of a challenge, but the way that we encrypt our data and remove any sort of user identifiable or personally identifiable information actually gets us around that. And
that's good. Before it even gets to you don't know who I am.
Right,
I'm just an IP address.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And even IP addresses are obfuscated, so our threat research team really has no way to identify whose data that is.
Okay.
We separate our customer service interface with our threat research interface so that the key code couldn't even be looked up. So
separate company, separate places.
Yeah,
good.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
We abstract the data. So
common sense, but you don't see much of that anymore.
You don't, unfortunately.
All right. Now, any challenges? I guess any Apple-like challenges where law enforcement says, "Hey, Webroot, I got to have this data," and you say, "Well, I'm not so sure about that." You don't have to name specifics, but you get these sort of requests.
Not that come across my desk.
Okay.
We're a U.S.-based company, and so we'll probably abide with U.S. laws as we operate.
That part
way.
I get, but sometimes it gets to a point where they're just too nosy to me.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you know what? Go build your own server if you're so smart, because they don't think they're so smart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, we want to contribute to a safer environment for everyone, and so I think one of the big challenges the industry faces is that there's very little repercussion for participation in this very lucrative industry. We see things like ransomware as a service, where you simply go to a Tor website and you enter in the Bitcoin address that you want people to send payments to, and the guy takes a 10% cut and you get the rest. And what did you do? You went to a website and entered in some information. No programming experience required. Just the cybercrime as a service space is enormously competitive. It's very inexpensive.
First time I'm hearing it that way, cybercrime as a service.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Write that down because there's a couple of people I want to send that to.
And you know what? It's everywhere. It's from helping you develop your code, to supporting the infrastructure to host your botnet, to liquidating whatever you stole. There are people along the way to help really make it a very easy process.
Now, I have another one I use, which we're going to talk to today, and MalwareBytes.
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 Yes.
I can never get bits and bytes right. That's so stupid. Security guy radio. It's an
There's 8
idiot.
bits in a byte.
All right.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Math is complicating me. All right. So, I can't stop laughing. All right. Distinguish the two products. Are they different? Because
They are.
that's what I thought, and I had an intuition about that because I run your stuff, and then I just downloaded them yesterday and ran it, and I found things that you didn't find.
We get this a lot, actually, and the issue is with how MalwareBytes actually quantifies its detections, and it looks at the registry and detects lots of things in the registry that are artifacts of previous infections, perhaps, or false positives.
Fair enough.
We can't, I can't always speak to their detections, but I'll tell you one of the core differences between the products is that MalwareBytes is traditionally a free product that offers remediation but no real-time protection.
Yes.
And if you buy their product, you then get the active shields. Whereas we don't really have that model. We have a 14-day trial that's the full product. It does everything you would expect it to do. And MalwareBytes is a little bit more of a system performance hit, but I do give them credit as they are very effective at remediation.
Well, I was trying to get to not compare competitive, not compare that wise, but and I don't know all this stuff. You know this, but is there a difference between a Trojan? What really bugs is that freaking adware.
Right.
I got Microsoft Image Composer, which is a 25-year-old program, and ever since I've gotten it to this day, when I'm imaging something, buy Hanes underwear pops up right on my screen. Like I can't get rid of it. Right?
Yeah.
So is adware different from a Trojan, which is different than a virus?
Yes.
They're all different.
They're all very different.
But do all programs capture all of it, or most of it, or what?
Well, so it all falls under malware, and then
Right.
adware is really designed to interact with your browser and to sometimes change the browsing behavior.
Yes.
We look at that as malicious, and so we would remove adware that affects your browser.
Because it used to be back in the day, you had to buy an adware removal program,
Right.
And that's not the case anymore.
Not the case anymore.
Okay.
And in fact, Webroot's first security product was called Spysweeper, and we released that in 2003.
Oh, I remember that.
Right? And this is when,
that was a great
cool web
product.
search and all these types of threats were out there, which
Yeah.
were very much in the adware space. And then hackers started realizing, hey, we can make money because people are now doing online banking and online e-commerce, and it shifted from advertisement-based revenue to data collection-based revenue. And today, still, that's the largest group of threats that we see are financial-based Trojans that, again, look for your credentials, look for your online transactions. But ransomware certainly today is also the fastest-growing type of infection, simply because it's so effective at getting people to pay.
Well, it removes that middleman. No longer are the days when you have one hacker stealing the whole kitty of accounts and PII. Now it's just go direct to the user and demand the ransom.
And the thing that we're really seeing shift here is that ransomware is typically pretty blind about what it's encrypted and how much the ransom should be. Yeah. And what we've seen already this year are a couple of examples of where, the Presbyterian Hospital in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
They originally asked for $3.5 million.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
And then they dropped it down to $17,000, which is quite a dramatic decline, but it shows that they're really looking to understand who they've infected, what value that data really has to them, and try to set a price point that's
it's kind of a new market.
Right, exactly.
New price point. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see an evolution of ransomware for a while till they kind of find that happy median of what's effective for the biggest bang.
But can't you just defeat it if I back up my data on a regular basis and say, you know what, screw off, I'll just I'll reboot and whatever, right?
That's really the ultimate way to end this infection is that we need people not to pay. But right now, people pay at an alarming rate.
They panic.
They do.
And there are some tips. Can you share with us some tips on how to...
Yeah. So, I love cloud storage solutions, right? Dropbox, everybody knows about it. They keep backup copies of your files. And so I look at, if you really want to save something, don't save it to your hard disk. Save it to a cloud.
I use Dropbox,
There's redundancy there.
But doesn't the certain types of ransomware, won't it spread to the shared drives if you're shared automatically to
No, they often will spread to shared drives. And then this is where we really see it in businesses getting hit hard is that they have users who are connected to remote shares, and then those shares end up getting infected. But ultimately, you want to have a backup. And really, if you care about your data, you should have a backup. And if not, and ransomware hits you shouldn't then be upset about losing that information.
Well, see, with the average consumer, my cousin's not going to get this. They're not that sophisticated. Is it a average consumer issue? We were talking about the other show, $1,500 is an average price for some average kind of ransomware?
With the Bitcoin value, which is also very, fluctuates a lot. So I would say it's more of a consumer problem than it is a business problem.
Okay.
But businesses are certainly getting hit by it.
Right.
So they're very concerned about it.
But
There's no question.
Most businesses have the process and controls in place to mitigate it and minimize
that's
the
a good
impact,
point.
where a normal user or a small business may not have the know-how or the capacity to do it.
That makes sense.
Pay.
Right. And another trend we've seen is that the businesses who do pay often get hit again because now they know, hey,
that's my point.
Paid, right. So my advice is to never pay. And I was really frustrated when the FBI actually came forward and said, well, we recommend paying the ransom.
You know what?
And I was like,
don't listen to anything they say.
Are you kidding me, guys? Like,
no one in law enforcement likes the FBI, okay? So I can say that because I was in law enforcement, right? And that's just like you see the cop shows on TV. Bad guy takes somebody hostage, and they tell the cop, drop your gun. Guess what, pal?
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen. I'm going to shoot you in the head. When you acquiesce, that's what happens. It causes more problems.
Yep.
So it is frustrating. I can see where you would say that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I would just say, well, I learned a lesson. Next time I'm not going to do that and not lose my data. And if they steal Target's data that way, or the hospitals, they still have it, don't they? I mean, they're locking my computer down to one degree, but isn't it possible they're also taking some of the data?
So we actually see this a lot. And with Angler, though now it's offline, what we saw in most cases was they would send down CryptXXX followed by the Carpera financial Trojan. And basically, you now have a financial Trojan that's watching you as you go online to buy your Bitcoins.
See?
And they catch you in both spots, really.
Right.
Wow.
So they know what they're doing.
I mean, ransomware is mostly about locking your computer up, not usually about stealing data. Yeah. But that's the next logical progression to me.
Right.
Absolutely.
Why not
by the way,
collect
here's
data?
the file that I have all your files, so let's pay for it again. Right, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Grayson, this has been really fascinating.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Give us your website again.
It's webroot.com, Webroot.
And I've been using you guys since the beginning. When it was the other Spy Catcher, I used that. Spy Sweeper is a great program, and it works. So it's always nice to use products that work.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on Security Guy Radio.
It was a pleasure. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Thank you, Grayson.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, that was good.
Yeah, it was fun.